Good morning, everybody. On? How about now? Good? Okay, there we go. All right. Good morning, everyone. If y'all don't mind taking your seats so we can get started, I'd appreciate it. I have a new sport. It's called Wrangle the Candidates. You actually have to go out into a crowded room full of people, find them all, and bring them back to the stage or the table, and first one back with the most wins. I got pretty good at it today. I want to thank y'all so much for being here and for coming to learn more about our candidates, our elections, as well as the Collin County Business Alliance. My name is Tanya Green. I am the Regional Director of Strategic Partnerships here at Capital One. And part of my role at Capital One is supporting our external strategies, our work in the community, and the things we're doing outside of the walls of Capital One to support Plano and Collin County. And in that role, I have the true honor of providing support to the Collin County Business Alliance, which is an organization made up of business leaders that's focused on leveraging their combined resources and influence to drive positive change in the community. And I'm telling you, I've worked with a lot of nonprofit organizations and different organizations over the years. This one has been nothing short of a tremendous honor and privilege. There are some outstanding leaders in this organization that love this community and are very dedicated to it. So with that, I would like to introduce to you the chairman of the Collin County Business Alliance and the president of Capital One Financial Services, Mr. Sanjeev Yajnik.
Thank you, Tanya, and welcome everyone to our discussion with the candidates today. My name is Sanjeev Yajnik, and I just want to have a few words. I'm just going to go on the other side. Thank you. First of all, to all the friends and families who have gathered here, I want to welcome you, and I want to start by saying we are so proud that you have made your way here for a very, very important event. I really believe that all politics starts at home, and politics is a very, very important thing. The things that you will vote for in this election will be some of the things that impact you the most in our lives in Plano and in Collin County. It is interesting to me that when there are the national elections, everyone gets very energized and people go out and want to get their voice heard and so on and so forth. But many people don't realize that on a day-to-day basis, the most impactful decisions are made actually at the local level. And I am so thrilled to see this kind of a turnout and people who are interested and really engaged with the candidates. I know that this is going to be such a vibrant session. I am very proud to welcome you to this facility of Capital One. We have been growing and we have been successful, and we are very fortunate to do so. This facility and this campus is one of only two that Capital One has across the country. So we have another one in Virginia, which is a people center. We have offices around the country, but as a people center, this is the other place that we decided to grow a people center. And we have over 3,000 associates who work in Plano and who live with their families in Plano and in Collin County predominantly. As you probably have observed as you've driven up here, we are not yet stopped our buildings. So we have our building 6 and 7 and a big parking garage going up, and we expect that we will have more. But I'm really here on behalf of the CCBA, the Collin County Business Alliance. And I just want to spend a couple of minutes on what it is and how it was created. The Collin County Business Alliance is essentially a group of business leaders in Collin County and very specific elected officials who fundamentally believe that a vibrant community needs vibrant businesses. And businesses should not be guests in their community. We have a responsibility that we can be some of the foundation and some of the backbone for a very vibrant community. At the end of the day, we do business here. Our families live here, their hopes and dreams and all of that is within the community in which we work and live. And so we have a very important role to play. In the early days, Senator Florence Shapiro, who many of you know, has been a very close partner in the founding of the Collin County Business Alliance. We have many of our board members here. You probably see a list of very strong individuals who've got together, and then the whole membership has been incredibly strong. So with that, we decided to pull together this forum. We have wonderful candidates. We have some positions that are going to be open. We are starting in Plano, but you can expect us to be supporting similar sessions with the other cities in Collin County. So without further ado, I want to move to the next phase of this, which is really what we've come here for, to hear from the candidates. I would like to introduce Steve Stoller, who is actually going to help run this session. Steve, we are very lucky to have Steve here to help facilitate this session. Steve is one of our key reporters and journalists in Collin County. He's been here for over 17 years. We are very lucky for him, who's really busy, to be able to spend his time with us. But the one thing that really strikes me about Steve, you know, even over and above his proficiency in his profession, is that he has spent a lot of time and energy supporting the community. Steve serves on many nonprofit, with many nonprofit organizations and really relentlessly gives back to the community. So I think it is only fitting to have this kind of a leader and, you know, this kind of, I would say, visionary journalist to come here to help us run the session. So please join me in welcoming Steve to the stage. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Sanjeev. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to all of you. Thank you very much for being at our Candidates Forum this year. This year, in the Plano City Council race, there's only one council race that's actually contested, and that is for place 8. And these are our candidates today. Before we start, I'd just like to tell you a little bit about what our ground rules will be today. Each candidate will open with a 2-minute statement introducing themselves. We'll then have a series of questions that I'll ask the candidates. Many of those questions came from you when you registered for this event. And then at the very end, the candidates will have another 2 minutes for closing remarks. So let's start with the introductions and the 2-minute openings. First, we have David Downs, who is running for Plano City Council, Place 8. Mr. Downs.
Thank you, Iman. Can you hear me? Okay, great. I'm honored to sit up here, and I'm just amazed to sit in a venue like this and kind of under the spotlights. Maybe this is as close as I'll ever get to being a star. But to see all the faces out there, and we came from a much smaller group earlier, and we knew most of them, so I'm energized by the number of people in the room that I don't know. I think that's one of the key things that we have to work on in this community. I've spent the last 3 years on planning and zoning. Before that, I spent a year on Parks and Rec, all of it in preparation for serving on City Council. When I made the decision 5 years ago to run, or 6 years ago, it was really driven by, okay, I want to do this, so if I'm going to do it, how do I best prepare for it? And that was to become involved as deeply as I could in those organizations and those parts of the city that prepare the city and function the city and look ahead into the future and say, how are we going to design it? And so I spent that time doing it. My background is in finance. I'm a financial planner. I have my office here in Plano. I work with a company that recently relocated its offices out of Plano, and I refused to go. So I opened my own office here. And I spend my days working with the citizens of Plano. That's how I'm engaged with the community, is hearing about what they're concerned about and how to help them plan their lives. So when I look at the city, which I moved to in '72 and have grown up with, I have the same kind of care for it as I do for my clients, and that is to see it long-term be successful, to see it grow, And I think that's a key factor in what we've got to address as a council moving forward and as a community is how to grow it. How to bring more businesses like Capital One, this is amazing, how to bring more businesses like that to our community. And I applaud Sanjeev for saying that they have a responsibility as a corporate partner to help the city. And I look forward to your support. You can find more information about me at voteplano.com, and I hope I can serve for you on the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And the other candidate for the Place 8 City Council race is Sally Magnuson. Sally?
Thank you, Steve. Thank you all for being here. One problem with local elections, not everybody gets out to vote. It's a very small percentage of the voting population. I hope you will all go to the polls, make your voices heard, and encourage your friends and neighbors to do so. I'm running for City Council because I want to stay involved in the community. Lived here for a great many years, have had the privilege of being involved and having something to say about the growth of the city over the years. It's been exciting, it's been challenging, it's been frustrating, but it has ultimately been very, very rewarding. I was able to serve 3 full terms on City Council in the earlier part of the century, and found it challenging and exciting. We faced some economic downturns, we faced some very tough times, and we managed to continue to grow the city, to maintain all the things that you moved here for, quality of life, safety, all the things that make this a very special place to live and to raise your family. And for some of us, having done that, to retire and stay here. There are all kinds of opportunities to contribute over the years. I've been fortunate enough to chair some committees for the city, some commissions, to be involved in nonprofits, many different areas from the arts to social services. And I want to continue that service. I'm not ready to stay home and turn into a couch potato. I think I still have something to contribute and appreciate you giving us the opportunity to come here today and tell you what we stand for, what we propose, and what we hope to do for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. First question, this is an audience question. In the last 5 years, how have you contributed to a better quality of life for Plano? Sally, let's start with you.
Well, 5 years ago, I was still on City Council, and we were dealing with some difficult budget issues, difficult staffing issues, different ways to manage the city, to deal with potential deficits, and we were successful in all of that. Since leaving council, I've stayed involved with some nonprofits, chaired another commission for the city of Plano, and tried to continue to make contributions. That doesn't stop when you stop public service, or at least it shouldn't, in my opinion. Once you make the commitment to the community, it should be ongoing. If you care enough to serve, care enough to continue.
David, some question?
I think in my opening I mentioned that I've been on Planning and Zoning, and the focus for the last 3 years on the Planning and Zoning Commission has been a revamp of a comprehensive plan that was first really drafted back in the 60s and served the city well through its major growth spurt. But now we face different challenges, and I think that's one of the major things that I've been able to help do is craft that comprehensive plan. Look at what options are available to us from developers, look at the amount of land that we have remaining, look at things such as the transportation and how that's being dealt with. So those are areas in the last 3 years in particular, Parks and Recreation before that. And then I've served in many different nonprofits in the community. And about 5 years ago, I wrapped up one of the biggest things that I think tasks I've taken on, and that was finishing my friend's house, which is a great shelter for kids in the town, and was just there the other day for a bike path dedication. So I will continue to be involved moving forward, and hopefully as a city council member.
Thank you, David. The next audience question, how will you help attract new businesses to Plano, and how will you make Plano attractive to these businesses' employees? David, let's start with you this time.
Okay. That's the same kind of question we were asked continually on planning and zoning was, our residential areas are fairly well built out, but the commercial area is still wide open. We have a lot of remaining land. However, the parcels are getting smaller. And so we have to retain some of that to attract the right kinds of corporations that need larger campuses. We also have to look at it in terms of what types of employees that they need. And beyond the education, what type of lifestyle do the employees want to live? A lot of them are single, young, and have their degrees and are pursuing other degrees, and they look for a vibrant community. They look for locations to live that are close to work. And those are the types of decisions we were making at the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I think moving forward that we will continue to look at on council is how to incentivize people to come here. The other aspect of that, in my opinion, and I don't want to run past my time, is revitalization of what we have already in terms of our neighborhoods and making sure that there's a good place for their workers to live.
Sally?
It's important to continue to attract new business, certainly, but we also need to keep corporations such as Capital One, HP, JCPenney, so many of the corporations that we have here. People tell me they're here, we don't have to worry about that. They came here from someplace else. We need to maintain a quality of life and provide the services that will continue to make people want to stay here and new corporations move here. When I was on council before, I was part of a group that came up with some additional funding for our economic development department, give them another tool to work with to help attract business and corporations to Plano. We need to continue to find innovative ways to encourage new development as well as maintain what we already have.
The next audience question focuses on education. How can the city partner with Plano ISD to keep up with the rising educational standards across the globe and improve education here at home? Sally?
Okay. That's a tough question because it is Plano Independent School District. People assume that the city has something to do with how the schools are run. We don't. We can offer assistance. We can work with schools. We can help partner with them on improving infrastructure at some of the older schools in those neighborhoods, find ways to bring people back to some of the aging communities and hopefully keep young families moving in, and encourage the schools to continue to find creative ways to attract new families to work with those that are already here. It's not an easy question, and there aren't any easy answers. There's no one magic bullet. As you know, if you have followed what the legislature is doing over the last few sessions, we need to continue to be innovative and creative.
I will echo that it's a challenge. I think the key thing would be communication and working closely together, looking ahead. The challenges that the school district face at the state level are something that I'm glad we don't necessarily have to deal with at the city level. And you know, we can only assist in the areas of, for example, redeveloping the infrastructure in areas where schools maybe need assistance, and looking at the neighborhoods around those and what can the city do to provide benefit in those areas so that the residents in there can enjoy a new building or a new facility, for example. The other thing that we have to look at in terms of the school district is facilitating that communication about what other businesses are coming, what are the employment needs, what are the education needs of the employees that business needs. How can we help the school district in that area and facilitate the discussions that they need to have, and work closely with the Collin College, which is, I think, probably doing a great job right now in working with the local businesses, and they're certainly an attraction to anyone looking to move here.
Transportation is always a big issue in any political campaign, and with our area, mobility specifically is an issue. How can we improve mobility in Plano on a large scale, and also specifically to DART?
I think DART was a good program. I've lived in other communities where mass transit was a much bigger part of people's daily lives. I mean, the idea of catching the bus to go to work or catching the bus to go to the train to then go downtown was just a normal deal. I mean, people didn't even have cars. And we live in Texas, and we like cars. I like cars, big cars. So But our community is growing, and the area, the North Texas region, is growing dramatically and will continue to do so. And we just simply can't continue widening our freeways. I think you will see in the future greater effort toward probably pay-as-you-go type highways, and we're already bounded by 3 of those. So to the extent we can increase mass transit, include it in our development plans, increase the ability for people to be able to get from where they are to where they need to be without getting into their car and driving to the grocery store or whatever. I think that's a good thing, and I certainly would support any growth in that area.
Transportation will continue to be a challenge. We are all too fond of our cars here, even some of us who drive small cars. We're trying to be fuel efficient. We need to look at what we have now, find better ways to utilize it. Far too many DART buses don't have enough people in them. But I think enough people are moving into the area too who come from communities with mass transit and are more open to using other means of transportation. I'd much rather get on DART to go downtown if I work there than to drive any of the freeways every day. Those are challenges that I think we are meeting. At the same time, we need to find other ways for cross-town transportation. Maybe we need some shuttles. Maybe we need to look at other ways to serve the population, including senior citizens, people who might not want to drive any longer. It's a challenge. It will continue to be so. We have to be creative.
We all know Plano has many, many qualities about it. What is one quality about Plano you would change, and why?
Okay, he's looking at me. What would I change? That is a tough question because I love this city. We've lived here a long time, raised our children, stayed here. What would I change? I think maybe to find ways for more people to get involved in the community. Plano is a relatively new city. It's open to newcomers. If you want to get involved in something, there's usually a place for you, but not everyone realizes that. And I'd love to find ways to integrate some of our minority populations more than they are now, particularly some that come from communities or countries where government is to be feared, authority is to be feared. Love to find ways to educate people and get them more involved and let them know that they are welcome here, they have something to contribute, and we need to know what those things are.
Much of what she said I would echo. I think that involving our diverse community is an aspect that I would like to see changed. Nothing that's bad that I see, I just think it's room for growth. As I mentioned earlier, I mean, we can grow in a lot of different ways, and that's one of them. The quality of life that I think some people would like to see is a little more energy. Everyone's busy with their lives, and we live in these segregated kind of neighborhoods where you're kind of in this zone. And I think people would enjoy more areas where they could go to where there was a little more energy. So that's a quality of life I think that I would change. But when you look at the services that the city provides right now, people move here for a reason, and it's beyond the school district, which is fantastic. It's the protection that they feel, the security they feel. It's a clean city. And it is, as Candidate Magnuson said, it's a very open community for us, for anyone who wants to move here. And from an involvement standpoint, I would echo that we can't do anything but benefit from greater involvement from the citizens that are here.
Okay, let's take another question from the audience. What challenging demographic changes have been taking place in Plano, and what would your response be to these changes? David, let's start with you this time.
Much like the city is aging, so is the population, and that's a national trend, but it's, you know, people move here and they like it here, so they stay, right? And I'm one of them. I probably will be here for a long time. So I think the challenge there is going to be how do you take and create services and residential areas, places where people can move to that they feel like they don't have to get in their car and drive because maybe they're not able to anymore. They're still functionally independent, but so we need to create more areas of that where maybe it's a little more walkability, smaller areas to be taken care of. And then we have to look at, as I mentioned earlier, the people that are coming in are younger, they're not getting married as quickly, they're having smaller families, and they're looking for a different type of environment as well. So from a demographic standpoint is how do we meet the needs of our seniors that are going to stay here, and then how do we provide the needs for those that are younger moving in?
We do have an aging population. My husband and I have been here for a long time, and we plan to stay. The city is developing, or private industry has developed some retirement communities, assisted living communities, and some very positive strides are being made in that direction. At the same time, our median age in this city is still quite young. So we need to find ways to integrate the younger families, to work with the schools, and create opportunities for everyone. During the past few years, our demographics have changed greatly in Plano. The largest demographic population in our city now at over 15% is the Asian community, which most people don't realize. And that's a very, very diverse community within that. Our next largest is Hispanic, and the next is African American. It's important that we integrate people from all these communities, make sure their needs are met, and that they know that they're welcome.
I think I started that one.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I can talk again if you want.
Oh, the variety. Well, let's talk a little bit about redevelopment. Where does the redevelopment emphasis need to be in Plano? Is it residential or commercial? And what are your ideas to do so?
Well, it's both. It's hard to separate the two. Some of the older parts, East Plano, commercial development is looking a little tired. We need to find ways to encourage the people that own those particular areas and buildings to rehabilitate, attract new clients, new rent businesses. We need to also find ways to rehabilitate some of our older neighborhoods. Infrastructure is aging at the point of failure in some instances, and it can be a critical component in how Plano continues to grow and develop. We need to continue to find ways to do that. One thing that concerned me greatly recently, we had 3 water mains break at approximately the same time. If we'd had a major fire, the fire department would have had a real problem with water pressure. So we need to find ways to increase our attention to our infrastructure needs as well.
I echo that it's both. It's a case of what comes first, the chicken or the egg kind of thing. Businesses will move here if there are nice neighborhoods for their employees to live in. People will move here if there are jobs and the shopping centers down at the corner aren't looking run down. But that's a unique situation. In planning and zoning, we looked at this many times, is that these areas that need redevelopment, usually it's not one person that owns it, and the city can't simply underwrite the cost of the redevelopment. So it's going to have to be a partnership. And that is an area that I know that the city is already working on, the Economic Development Board is looking at. And in planning and zoning, we went through a series of meetings with citizens in the community about which areas to redevelop and what they would like to see. So I think you're going to see both going on. I do think that maybe a little stronger push should be made in the residential area and looking for unique ways to redevelop a neighborhood, for example, and that'll benefit everybody: the school district, the community, the city itself.
What is your position on the upcoming packaged alcohol sales election in Plano? David, let's start with you on that.
I figured that would be on there somewhere. Lucky me. Lucky me. To me, there's 2 different aspects of this. One is people don't want alcohol in their communities, and they're afraid of what it means to have a packaged liquor store down on the corner, for example. So that's one aspect of it. The other side of it would be, well, there's a huge financial incentive to have the sales take place here in the city. And the bigger portion of that isn't you or I or anybody running down to buy something for their martini or whatever they're going to have. It's the business-to-business side. Currently, the businesses in the city that use alcohol have to go all the way to Anna to buy their alcohol, and that's a challenge for them. So I think there's great opportunities for it, and I've moved around a bit and seen a lot of change And so I'm not as worried about it. I understand why people are worried about it, but I think that ultimately it can be managed in a way that it'll be a benefit to the city if this was to go forward.
Sally?
I have to agree with that. I think economically it makes a lot of sense for us to pass this particular item and have package stores here in the city. That doesn't mean there will be one on every corner, that we will have people loitering on corners and affecting neighborhoods. There certainly are strict standards that have to be met before any business can open in the city. But on the other side of it is the tax dollar. The broader our tax base, the better it is for all of us. It'll keep your property taxes down residentially. It will broaden the commercial base. It will benefit us in the long run as long as things are managed properly. And Plano is very good about setting standards and maintaining those standards and enforcing city ordinances.
Closing remarks. Each candidate will have 2 minutes. Sally, let's start with you.
I've been in Plano a long time. As I said earlier, it's been a privilege, it's been exciting. I'm not ready to stay home. I want to continue to contribute to this community. We all of us in this room have things to contribute, and I would encourage you all to get involved if you're not already. I bring experience to the table, not only through many years of nonprofit work and city boards and commissions, but through serving 3 terms recently on city council. It makes a difference. I know city staff, I know what's going on in the city, and we'll be able to work with the people that are already involved. For me, it's a full-time job. I'm fortunate enough to be retired, was heavily involved in recycling. Used to say I was the trashiest person in town when I worked for Allied Waste. That brings another facet to the community. We are very strong on our environmental issues, and that is definitely something we need to be concerned with. Being able to give the time necessary is very, very important. We are able then to have people involved on the regional, statewide, and national levels. Was privileged to serve on a national steering committee for National League of Cities on public safety and crime prevention. It was an education, and it was fascinating. Also was able to serve on some committees with North Texas Council of Governments. Most of these things happen in the daytime, which is not taking away anything from our full-time employed council members, but it is an advantage and something that I'm able to offer. I'm not ready to stay home. I said that before. The desire is there to continue to help Plano to grow and to strengthen and make it a wonderful place for us all and our families to live and grow.
Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, I've been preparing for this for a while, and that means probably a slightly different viewpoint of where the city's at than my opponent might have. My relations with staff, et cetera, are current. I know that the challenges we've faced in the last 3 years, 4 years, and have been part of dealing with them from zoning standpoint, and more importantly, looking ahead, what's going to come in the future. My background, I've lived overseas, in Thailand, Spain, Saudi Arabia. I lived in Chicago. I've seen other environments and seen how they can turn out when good decisions are made and when bad decisions are made. And I think that helps me bring a good eye to the decisions that we'll face as council coming ahead. We talked earlier about some of the tax challenges. I believe that's an area where I have a good background on the financial side. My background is in finance. I've spent the last 16 years doing planning, and so every decision I make looking at council is going to be, how are we going to benefit the citizens of the community? How are we going to benefit the businesses that relocate here? How can we work together to meet the challenges that we have ahead of us? And they are there. They're real, and they're different than the ones we faced in the past. So I think there's an area where I can provide a lot of value. My experience growing up in the city and understanding where it's been and helping drive where it's going to go in the future, I think that's a great opportunity, and I've been preparing for it for the last few years, as I said. I'm a planner by nature. I'm a people person by nature. And I love the citizens, and my family's here, and I plan on being here for a long time. So I hope I can count on your support.
Thank you, candidates. Ladies and gentlemen, nice round of applause for our Place 8 City Council candidates. And while we set up for our mayoral forum, I'd like to tell you a funny story. And for those of you who have heard this story before, I apologize. One day, this is kind of the life of a news person who's on television. One day, I'm over at Stonebriar Mall here in Frisco with my boys, who are 16 and 18, and this woman came running up to me like she was actually excited to see me. Doesn't happen often. And I thought she was going to say, "Are you the guy on Channel 8 News?" But she surprised me. She said, "I just got to ask you a question." I said, "Yes, ma'am." "Are you Ray Romano?" True story. So, ladies and gentlemen, this year's mayoral election in Plano will actually be historical, because no matter who wins, for the first time in history, Plano will have an African American mayor. At this time, we'd like to call up the candidates who are running for the mayor of Plano, Fred Moses and Harry LaRoseliere. Okay. Pardon? And once again, ladies and gentlemen, this will be the same format as we had with the city council candidates. We'll start with 2-minute opening statements. Each question that we ask will get 1-minute response from the candidates, followed by a 2-minute closing remarks. First question. Let's start with Fred this time around. Fred, why are you running for mayor?
Why am I running for mayor? Because I've lived here a long time. I think I've contributed a lot to this community in the involvement I've been. I've invested a lot as a business owner, as a resident, and so I think I have the background, skills, and ability to be an effective leader. And I think that's why it's important for me to be running at this time, because I think I contribute so much as a result of all I've lived here 33 years, and it's a great community. And we love this community, and I think I can my business background, my leadership, my relationships, my reputation, I think all of those are tremendous assets to this community that I can contribute greatly to the betterment of Plano at this time.
Harry?
Thank you, Stephen. Sanjeev, again, thank you to the organization for putting this together. This is truly a great opportunity to get community involvement. Why am I running? Well, Steve and Planoites, I'm running because service is a calling for me, not a career. Serving on city council and as mayor is the highest level of community service we can offer, and I'm ready to provide my services. I moved to Plano about 20 years ago, and within months of moving here, I've been actively engaged in the community. I've held leadership positions in every organization I've served, and in about 2000, I started getting involved in municipal governance, and that was I truly found my calling and my passion. I've served 6 years city council, 2 terms. I've been given leadership and responsibilities by 2 separate mayors. I served as the mayor pro tem, and I chaired the TIF board, which is the incremental financing board that helped provide growth on the east side of Plano for 6 years. The reason I am running is because Plano is we are at a crossroad. We need someone with vision, leadership, proven results, and the experience to guide us forward. And I look forward to serving as your mayor. Thank you.
Gentlemen, serving as mayor requires you to lead a team. What's an example of how you led a team or group toward achieving an important goal? Harry, we'll start with you this year.
Well, leading a team first, again, requires a vision and idea of where you want to go. I was elected as mayor in 2000, as city council member, I'm a little ahead of myself. Elected mayor May 11th of 2013, I see into the future. No, 2005, I was elected to city council, and within months, first 2 months, we were having a meeting for our council retreat, and I initiated the establishment of the Economic Development Fund for the city of Plano. At that time, we were losing businesses to our neighboring cities because we weren't able to compete. And before I got to that seat, I had my plan. I had the vision planned out as to how we were going to compete and how we were going to put ourselves in that position. I worked with the council, I worked with staff. We came up with a plan that's created 17,000 jobs since 2006, $80,000 average salary of the job, and $800 million in new property values. That's how I helped the team lead to a goal.
Brett?
Well, how I've led a team. I came here in 1980. At the time that I came here in this community, in particular the minority community, was underrepresented. And what I did is I started an organization called the Plano Community Forum. And my goal in terms of starting that forum was to have more diversity in the community. I started the Martin Luther King celebration for Plano, but more so than starting that Plano, that group, I started initially in the Black community, but it was really a need because Dr. Martin Luther King was a great American, and I wanted to reach out to all of the community. And so we got other churches and other groups in the community to get involved in that process. One of the programs that we did under that program was the Power Breakfast. That's now a big part of that program, and it's now hosted at the Collin County Community College. Recently, we had Ken Paxton, we had Jeff Leach, and District Judge Angela leading that group, and that has been a great vehicle in terms of making a difference in terms of diversity in this community.
Let's take a question from the audience. Please describe one new idea that you have which demonstrates an opportunity to collaborate on something meaningful between the City of Plano and Plano ISD. Brett?
Okay, I think there's one idea is the PISD is now wrestling with this security and how they need to work on being more secure and making our kids more secure. I think that is a great opportunity for us as a city to work with them in terms of the police department and our resources to make it more, to make those resources available so that our kids and our schools can feel secure. But that's one area that they can work with immediately and collaborate together, security.
Harry?
Well, again, hopefully through this process or this forum here, we're going to see differences. And this is where a key difference I can differentiate. I've done that. I've worked with PISD. In a few years back, we worked, the council worked with the school board to appropriate some funds from the TIF fund that I was liaison to council. We put $10 million into Mendenhall School, upgraded the school, and the result of that since the upgrade is a 16% increase in attendance, almost $500,000 of new revenue to the school district. It took collaboration, it took vision to think about how to appropriate the funds from the TIF fund to do that. And going forward as mayor, I look to do that in terms of neighborhood revitalization. I'm going to look to identify the neighborhoods where we can partner with the residents and the commercial owners and connect that with the school, with the work that the school is doing so that there's an actual focus. There is a clear, distinct focus on an area that we've made a commitment to improve. And that perception, number one, will create the positive effect, and then the reality comes later.
Another audience question. What types of businesses will you strive to bring to Plano? How will you do so, and what measures will you take to retain them? Harry, we'll start with you.
Okay, so the Economic Development Fund that we created back in '06 does have certain matrix. If you look historically, what Plano's done is we've targeted corporate headquarters. We call that sticky business. A company like Capital One, who make a significant investment in a community in terms of building, chances are that they're not going to leave after because they're owners. So we've really targeted corporate headquarters and regional headquarters. What I'd like to see from the fund is to continue to have that strategy, but also look to fill in the area where we're looking at opportunities to find employers that bring in employees that maybe not necessarily be on the corporate level, but on the skilled worker level. I think that'll fill in the gap in terms of the services. We have a lot of land off of Bush and Coit where you have commercial, industrial parks, and that's the type of business I think we can add to the diversity of our economic base.
I think one of the things that we really need to be looking at, and I think it's started really, is with this Joe Trade store that recently came to Park in Preston. And those kind of operations are unique businesses that come to our community. And they draw other businesses here. And I think we continually need to look to people like Southern California and see what unique opportunities out there, and then make an attraction to try and draw those businesses here. But one of the other things I think is an opportunity that we need to look at, because we don't have although we have a fund, we're not on the same competitive level as a Frisco and an Allen are in terms of those funds. But we really need to also look at what opportunities there are for us to recruit international businesses here, and it may be easier for us to do that in terms of, since we have such a diverse international population here, and maybe some of those citizens can help us look other places to try and bring international companies here that would look for the opportunity and would benefit from being here in Plano.
Eric?
I can answer it again.
Oh.
You want to answer it again?
Give me the mic and I'll talk, Steve.
Okay.
All right, let me ask you about the bond issue. What are your specific thoughts about the bond issue? You went last time. Go first this time, Fred.
Oh,
go ahead.
Okay, it's my turn?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay, on the bond issue, I think the bond issue is $98 million, and the items that are in the bond, in particular, I think the fund in there, the $15 million, in terms of looking at our communities and how that could be effective, utilized to invest in the community. I'm supportive of that bond. The bond program. I think we always need to be investing in Plano to keep it viable, to keep it cutting edge. And we have a great community, and we need to continually invest in that to keep it that way.
I support the bond issue as well. It's $98 million. I think if you look at how City of Plano's operated historically, we're a very fiscally responsible city. In 2009, when I was on City Council, we passed we had authority for $131 million of a bond initiative. As of fiscal year 2012, we only spent a quarter of that, because just because we have the authority to spend it doesn't mean we will. Plano's just recently named the best run city in America. I think it's important to give the council and staff the ability and the flexibility to be able to make the improvements and the investments. And if you look at what's on the bond initiative, not a lot of operating and maintenance costs. It's really more infrastructure. So we're going to put about $43 million for the roads, $27 million for parks. We have 4,000 acres of parks, so we have to keep that up, and we have to maintain the vibrancy of the community. And then $15 million for improvement, where we can look for partnerships with companies, and I think that's money well spent.
Let's talk about water. We've had so many issues with water over the last decade, with several droughts, zebra mussels, and our water supply. What is your strategy for water conservation? And talk also about the take-or-pay plan. Harry, let's start with you.
So the take-or-pay plan is a difficult situation. It was a time that Plano benefited from it in terms of how much water we use and how much we paid for. Now we encourage conservation, and we get penalized for it. We actually end up costing us net about $4 to $5 million a year as a result of us being environmentally friendly. I think the solution is, and I don't like to look outside of our 72 square mile radius for answers, but I think it really is going to come down to lobbying state and federal, on the state and federal level, to provide us incentives for being good stewards of our earths. And so that's really where it's going to go. Realistically, it's not, the changes are hard to occur because there's 13 cities, all of them have to agree in terms of making the changes, and those growing cities right now have no incentive to let us out of the take or pay contract. So I think the answer is for us to continue to be good citizens of our earth, but however, lobby it with our state and federal officials to provide us with some relief for the fact that we're doing that.
I think on with the water situation that we have here, where we have been kind of good stewards here in Plano. We've implemented the conservation plan, and we've seen a reduction in the amount of water that we use. And as Sarah says, we still get penalized. I think that shows that we have some capacity to grow and to bring other businesses here. And I think that positions us well for future growth in terms of businesses. I think the other part about with water needs and what our water situation here is Plano is that if we had the right leadership in City Hall, I think we need to really try and work with the other 13 cities and find a solution that we have water, they're trying to grow, and maybe there would be a way that we can find an optimum solution in terms of us dealing with our needs, which we have extra capacity, and they're trying to grow, they need capacity, and so we need to look at that option.
Let's get a few more audience questions here.
Okay.
Fred, we'll start with you on this one.
Okay.
What are the responsibilities of citizens independent of government programs to make Plano better than it is today? How have you fulfilled your own personal responsibility to do so?
That's a very good question. I see the responsibility of Plano. I think we all need to be given a little bit. We need to be volunteering, need to be getting in the community, giving back a little bit. There's probably 20% of us doing all 80% of the work. I think some of us get so, people are recruiting on us all the time, that we really need to expand the bases, and more of us need to be contributing. And because of that's what I've grown up here in Plano. The 33 years I've been here, I've always been involved since I got here in our community organizations and giving back. But we need more citizens to do that. And that the need is going to be very great as we have more challenges in the city. I would like to see us have more citizen community dealing with the challenges that we have, whether it's aging infrastructure or dealing with the redevelopment of some of these areas. I like to see more of us citizens sitting at the table with us, trying to make those decisions.
So we're a community, and we need leadership. Leadership from organizations like this, that's put this together. My hope is that after today, there's a handful of you here, more than a handful, that are encouraged to get involved. Service, like I said earlier, for me, it's a calling, not a career. So for me, I do get a gratification out of giving back, and hopefully you can find that small way that you can contribute to your community. When I moved here about 20 years ago, first thing I did is I got involved with an organization that helped children, because that's just where my passion was. Then I got in, and I chaired that organization. Then I chaired Leadership Plano. I had a passion to learn about the city and see what are some of the ways I could learn about it and help. I got involved in the chamber. I had leadership positions there. And then in 2000, when I got involved in city governance, I've never looked back. And so I found my calling. Hopefully through venues like this, some of you will find yours.
Another audience question. Has the 2 cents added to the property tax rate been successful? And do you see a need for an additional increase in property or other taxes?
So the 2 cents, like I said, that we started having that conversation within 2 months from when I joined council. It took us about a year, by 2006 when we initiated the plan. It took 2 cents from our property taxes. added it to the fund, it creates about $5 million a year. Doesn't compete completely with a city like Frisco because their sales tax revenue is generating about $10–12 million. We're able to narrow the gap though, and so my plan for that fund is to bolster it through opportunities like this past year, where we had a record sales tax revenue. We generated $67 million in sales tax revenue last year in the city of Plano. We had budgeted 60, so that would be an opportunity, for example, to bolster the fund without raising taxes for our citizens, and that will give us an opportunity to compete. As your mayor, there's not a company coming to the North Texas area that we will not compete for. We will compete vigorously for every business, large or small, because it is their best interest to be in Plano. They may not know it, but we'll let them know.
Go ahead, Fred.
Well, during my years in serving in Plano, I chaired the Economic Development Board. So I know how important it is to be out recruiting businesses and to have resources or incentive to do that. And I will, I think what we have in the fund that we have now, we need to make smart decisions about the fund. I think in terms of trying to recruit people here, there's not as a small businesses, I understand, I can't compete and can't go after every opportunity. I'm strategic in what I try and go out. And that's what I think the city of Plano need to do. We need to strategically decide what businesses that are good for us, a good fit for Plano, and that's what we need to do. And then we can use our money smartly. And I think cities around here that are growing up now, they want to be like a Plano. Plano is a great place. We have great resources. So I think that we have some great assets, and we just need to be smart in how we use our resources.
You want me to answer again, Steve?
Okay. You know, there's so many candidates up here, they're just hard to keep up with.
That's right. Okay. Okay.
All right, another question from the audience, and Fred, we'll start with you this time. Why should voters choose you over your opponent? What are the differences?
Very good question. There are three reasons why voters should choose Fred Moses as the next mayor. And I think after I tell you, you should look at leadership, relationship, and reputation as those three reasons. And when you talk about leadership, I own my own company that I started in Plano 28 years ago. And then in addition to that, I've chaired the Plano Chamber of Commerce Board, and I've also chaired the Plano Economic Development Board. When you talk about relationship, I have a long history of working with elected officials throughout this community. On the day that I'm elected, I can call them and instantly get access. And if they're not there, they'll call me back. They know who Fred Moses is. And then reputation. When you talk about reputation I have a long history, again, of being recognized in this community. I was recently awarded the Tom Landry Leadership Award, and I've been also awarded the Living Legend Award by Collin College. That's why you should elect me, Fred Moses, as the next mayor of Plano.
Harry?
The reason I should, there's some clear differences, and the reason I want to be your mayor and I am worthy of being your mayor is that I am the candidate in this race that has the vision, proven results, and the passion for community service. I've been involved actively in the city of Plano since 2000, and I've never looked back. I've received the endorsements of 3 former mayors, 6 Citizen of the Year recipients, former Senator Shapiro, Brian McCall. All the leaders that built this city have decided they're going to turn the key over to me. They trust me with the ability to do the right thing. We are at a crossroads right now in Plano where there's a lot of good things going on, but there's a lot of big decisions that's going to happen. And the person who's going to be your mayor has to have what I call the 2020 vision. The decisions we make today will impact our city in the next 6-7 years. I'm that person with that vision. I'm the person with that has proven results. I'm the person with the experience, and I want to be your mayor. Thank you.
Harry, we'll start with you this time. There are a lot of neighborhoods in Plano that are aging. What is the city's role in keeping the older neighborhoods desirable to buyers? And should the city offer incentives to citizens to improve their homes or to turn rental properties into owner-occupied homes?
So Steve, if anybody here will go to harryformayor.com, my second point in my three-point plan is neighborhood renovation and partnership. I think it's incumbent as, just like we set up a fund to partner with businesses to attract them here, we want to look at the same opportunities for residents. If we can provide them with the incentive to reinvest in their properties, not only the residents, but the commercial properties as well, in collaboration, for example, with the school district when they're doing renovations in the school. Again, we put a focus on an area. We make it clear, we make a distinct decision that we are committed to the improvement of that neighborhood. That's going to lift the neighborhood up. And so it is our responsibility to be involved in the improvement of a neighborhood. If we increase the property values of the city of Plano by 1%, that'll generate close to $3 million of revenue for us, and that's a lot of services that we can provide with that. So I'm fully supportive of initiating a program such as that.
We certainly need to address our aging infrastructure, and that aging infrastructure, and I've been there 33 years, but I think when you look from Court to Central, there are homes in there that have been there a long time. We certainly need to address that. I would be in favor of having the City Council and the Citizen Committee come together and then come up with the best alternative, best options for how we address that problem, and what kind of incentives would be best that would help us address the needs in those communities. They need to be addressed. They're older areas, but I would like for us to come up with the best solution in terms of how we approach it.
Multi-family housing. Should the city be reducing the number of older and deteriorating apartments in the city? Should additional multifamily zoning be allowed in Plano? If so, where and under what conditions? Fred, we'll start with you this time.
Okay, I think what we really need to be doing in our city is we're working with the development community and looking at what we in terms of how we need to be addressing those areas that need to be addressed. I think that too many times we operate in a vacuum, and they don't get those people that make the investment, that are involved in these type of developments not at the table. And I think we need to involve more of those and more of our citizens and development community to determine which is the best course of action.
Well, Steve, the answer to the question is it's not a one-size-fit-all answer. 72 square miles is the size of Plano. Not every situation will multifamily be appropriate, but just because it's multifamily and it creates density doesn't make it bad. We were at a chamber function the other day, and Michael Dardick was mentioning it, said it really well. He said, density sometimes is actually a good thing because that tells you that people want to be in the community. So we have to embrace density. We have to be selective. We have to take it on a case-by-case basis, but it's not a one-size-fits-all. And I think as we get close to, as we're building out from a land use standpoint, we have to look at each situation on a case-by-case basis. I did that when I was on planning and zoning. I was a commissioner for close to 2 years. In the 6 years I was in council, I looked at every case on a case-by-case basis.
Harry, we'll start with you this time. What is your position on the upcoming election involving the sale of packaged alcohol sales in the city of Plano?
I fully support it, Steve. If you look at what that means, obviously from a revenue standpoint, that's a very obvious one. Conservative estimates say it can generate almost $400 million of revenue, additional tax revenue to the city. It's a lot of services we could provide with that. There's a lot of good things we can do for our citizens. But above and beyond that, competition is good. Right now, all our businesses in Plano have to go to Anna to purchase the alcohol, the restaurants, and has to go to Anna to purchase the alcohol. By having that facility in Plano, it creates competition. Competition is good. It drives prices down. It creates profit margins for the businesses, a more successful business, a more successful Plano. So I fully support it.
I think my opponent's talking about $400 million. I think he moved the decimal point there. I don't think it's about that much revenue. I'm a non-drinker, but my wife drinks. Oh no, is that to say that? No. No, and so I think that issue is an up to the voter. I think the voters have an opportunity to decide on it, and I think that's where we leave it up to them. And that's where I'm at on it.
Okay, Fred, we'll start with you this time. Compare your tax rate to neighboring cities. What do you anticipate will happen to the tax rate going forward?
Well, one of my first bullet of why I'm running for mayor is I want to keep taxes low and expand our revenue base. And we are one of the lowest tax, we have the lowest tax rate in the area. As mayor, I would strive to continually do that. I think, during this time of economic expansion and downturn, our opportunity to get additional revenue is to expand the business base, bring more businesses in the community. That's how I think we need to get more revenue. But we need to keep our tax rate at the lowest of cities in this area.
So Plano has the lowest tax base in the area. We're 7 cents lower than Frisco, 16 cents lower than Allen, and 19 cents lower than McKinney. 25 cents lower than Dallas, which is a more mature city. So in order for us to keep the tax base low, it's the two of the key points of my three-point plan is a robust economic development strategy, continue to bring businesses to the community, increase the number of people that come here, the number of sales tax revenue that occurs, and then increasing the property values. So that is the way to stem the need the ability to keep our tax low. But just on a final point, I didn't move the decimal points. I read that correctly. It's $400 million, and it's a great opportunity for the city.
How do you feel about the thought that the majority of the economic development in Plano occurs on the west side of Plano as opposed to the east side? Harry?
Start with me. Well, that really is actually a misnomer. If you look at the Economic Development Fund has, since 2006, had 90 deals. 40 of them have been in the west side. The rest have been other places. Almost a third of them has actually been in the east side, in the RT district in the southeast corridor. Reality is, businesses are coming to this area, the west side, because there's an attraction. You have the Legacy Town Center. They want to be in that area, and so when it comes to that area, it goes into the general fund. The money is not appropriated for the west side. It actually benefits the whole city. But the way to help that again is really to develop other areas of the city where there is an attraction. And hopefully there'll be a question where I can elaborate on how I'd like to do that.
Fred?
Well, most of the money, well, there's a perception of reality. It appears that it has been on the west side. I would be a mayor for all of the city. And then I think we need to really do more on the east side in terms of some of the land that's available there, and also some of the redevelopment opportunities. And again, I think it's about getting our development community involved in that process and having them identify and work on what are good opportunities for us on the east side or on both sides. But more importantly, there should be some opportunities on the east side and out at the Reno area and for development. And we really need to be working more diligently to try and recruit businesses to that area.
That concludes our questions. The candidates will now have 2 minutes for closing remarks. We'll start with Harry.
Thank you. I want to thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself to you, for those of you who have not met before. Once again, my name is Harry LaRosselier, and I want to be your mayor. And I've prepared for this position. I have the passion, I have the commitment, I have the knowledge, I have the energy to do this for you. working City of Plano is something that I've enjoyed since 2000. We have a lot of issues going on in our city going forward. This is the time that you need someone with experience, someone with the vision as to create something for Plano, not for today, but for the next 10, 20, 30 years for your kids and your grandchildren. If you look at what differentiates us, myself and my opponent, we're both community servants. We've had a long history of providing, giving back to our community. But I am the candidate in this race that has the experience on the municipal level. I am the candidate in this race that worked to create a fund that's created and retained 17,000 jobs in Plano. I am the candidate with the vision and the commitment. And I gotta ask you, the question you ask yourself, who do you want to be your ambassador? We go and recruit around the country all the time. Who do you want to be the one to tell Plano's story? Who do you want to be the one to say, I moved here, I thought I was going to be here for a couple of years. This community had so much to offer me, and now it's 20 years later, and here I am. Harry LaRoseliere, I respectfully ask for your vote. Visit me on harryformayor.com. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be a part of the forum today. As you can see, you have two very different candidates for the positions of mayor. Leadership, relationship, and reputations are the hallmark of my campaign. These make me the best qualified candidates for this position. As your mayor, I'm committed to keeping taxes low and expanding our revenue base, addressing our aging infrastructure problem by getting the city council and citizens involved. And I would continue to be a strong supporter of educating the future workforce of Plano so that we could be in a position to ensure Plano's prosperity for generations to come. Again, I thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be here today. I am Fred Moses, and I humbly ask for your vote and your support to be the next mayor of Plano. I encourage you to go to Moses4mayor.com and read more about us. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the candidates for mayor of Plano. And now we'd like to welcome Sanjeev Yajnik back to the stage, President of Capital One Financial Services.
Great job.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been so moved by the speeches that I want to announce my candidacy. One thing I am sure of, you should not vote for me if I ever run for this position. Look, I just want to take a few minutes to first of all thank Steve Stoller for a wonderful job, Steve. Thank you. We are just so honored to have you here, and it has been just tremendous, both this session and then we had the session in the morning. Thank you so much. Secondly, I want to thank the candidates. Wasn't that unbelievable? That was great. See, I think in any case, we come out as winners. If you have candidates like this who have such a lot of passion for doing the right thing, for taking us forward, we are in a great place. But today you had an opportunity to hear from the candidates, to hear different visions, and to make up your own minds about who it is that we need to be backing to get that position. So finally, I think it is really the power of this whole thing comes together. It comes together with the folks sitting in the room and the people in the community. What I would ask each and every one of us to do is to make up our minds, speak to our colleagues, our friends, our families, be engaged, and let's make this particular election the election when we have just a wonderful turnout and participation, because that is what is going to make us stronger. Now, I want to end with thanking my board in the CCBA. We have a tremendous board, let me tell you. People who are very busy in their normal lives, running businesses, running their own areas, and giving back to the community. And we have such a lot of power on the board, kind of trying to formulate the plans of how we really support the community. And I would also say in the CCBA, our membership, so we have a board and then we have the broader membership. It is a group of people that are just stellar. And I've just been so fortunate to serve as the chairman of the board, but we are creating something very special here. And over time, hopefully, we are going to continue to bring a lot of support to the community. Thank you so much. Thank you.